Talking of creative agencies, our next presentation is from Jeff Bowerman and Andrew Robinson of TMW Unlimited. We cannot have a session here without some great video, and they're going to talk to us about great video. So where is Jeff and Andrew? Where are they? There they are. Okay. Let me introduce you quickly. Do you want a mic? You need a mic? Yeah, one mic. There's another one over there. No, actually, I need it just to... Okay, so... Jeff is creative director of TMW Unlimited, and Andrew is the strategy director. Jeff has been there since 2006. Previously worked for Money Extra and Bertelsmann, part of Bertelsmann. Andrew started his career at ActionAid and then went on to agency land with RAP, and he's been at TMW since 2015. And TMW's clients include Unilever, Virgin, everybody. Unilever seems to have every agency. Virgin Trains, Nissan, Sony, and Vodafone. So I probably have mentioned a load of clients you're not going to actually use.
So, hello. So we've been asked to talk about what makes a good video ad. We've made it look very Cannes, so you all miss Cannes. All very nice. But it was hotter here than there yesterday, so never mind. So as Dominic said, we're from TMW Unlimited. My name's Jeff. This is Andy. Just a bit of self-promotion, as Richard from TMW is here too. We were Campaign Customer Engagement Agency of the Year 2016 and the Drum Dream Agency 2016 as well. So that's our bit of puff piece. We sneaked in a few examples of our work as well, because after all, why not?
So we were asked to talk about what makes good video ads, and our kind of starting point for that is to really kind of challenge the premise of the question slightly. So good is a very subjective concept. It comes down to people's individual opinions about what makes a good creative product or not. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves has the honour, or the dubious honour maybe, of being ranked 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, which means exactly half the critics think it's terrible and half the critics think it's amazing. So it kind of splits the audience right down the mark, and that kind of opinion forming kind of view of creativity is as much as true of advertising as it is in the world of film. So instead, what we're going to talk to you today is about what makes an effective video ad. So really trying to look into the data, the kind of trends, things that we've seen coming out of work on clients that drives kind of effective creativity in this space. And the first thing to say is it's not your TV ad. Just putting your TV ad into video formats does not work. That's not going to give you strong performance. Because of all of these sorts of things. So we've just dropped an ad in here. You can't really see it. It's too small in the screen. You don't really know what's going on in it. It's really boring to start off with. You don't know what the story arc's going on about. You can't hear what they're saying because you're watching it with sound off on a mobile, so you don't know what's going on. And you have no idea what brand it's for. You can't tell. There's been no mention of any branding up front to this point. So just kind of taking your TV ad and putting it into these spaces is not good enough.
So I thought I'd have a bit of fun with something that happens quite a lot is when we get given a TV ad. So I thought I'd take an old classic that everyone knows, the classic BBH Levi ad. Any volume? Can I turn this up somewhere? Anyway, so I'm louder now as well. I have to be quieter in this loud. So a classic 1-minute ad with the classic story arc, slow beginning. Thank you. Problem is, as Andy said, we don't have that kind of time in social. So I thought I'd have a go at reinventing this for a perfectly good snap ad. So some of the rules we're going to talk about in a minute. Getting it, keeping it short, getting to the action quicker, grabbing attention in the first 3 seconds. Because it's a smaller screen space, you're going to have to really emphasize people, emotions, and things like that. So I dug out Premiere yesterday and re-edited this for you.
Don't you know that I heard through the grapevine, 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 grapevine. I know a man.
So a perfectly good ad ruined in 10 seconds. But that's the effect of giving a digital agency a TV ad and told, make it work in social. So the theme of today is, let's not do that. Let's start from digital first. Let's be grown up, as you say.
So in terms of that digital first, what kind of we've seen other people do in the past is then try and think about, how can we game the format? So, we're in this environment, it's maybe a skippable ad. How do we kind of play around with that? So, we'll be really clever and really try and game the consumer to kind of get over that point. And here's an example from Barclays, which kind of does that. But I think our main problem with this is, if the relationship managers really do care about my needs, just don't show me the ad in the first place. Don't try and skip it for me. Actually give me something of value in that time. Tell me a story, tell me something about your brand. So instead, we want to actually work with the channels, not against them. So really trying to embrace the creative limitations that we're given and using those to our advantage. There's a study by Google a few years ago now working with Mountain Dew in the US, where they looked at, in pre-roll formats, what's the most effective way of kind of developing a creative output. And they tested 3 things. They tested the TV ad. They tested the TV ad, but with the end frame first for 5 seconds with a countdown and giving the consumer the opportunity to skip, so driving just that product memorability. But then they tried something different. They just created a crazy cut of the TV ad that didn't really have any story or narrative to it. We'll play you the TV ad now so you can kind of see it.
Hey, pass me a kickstart.
So that's kind of the TV ad, your kind of normal standard narrative. There's a kind of setup and the narrative builds, and then it kind of just builds and builds and builds, really hyperbolic, until it finishes on a pack shot. And what they found was that out of those 3 options, the TV ad with the end frame first, and then a new kind of completely crazy crazy cut. It was the crazy cut without the narrative that worked strongest, and that was something like this. So no real narrative, just getting straight into the action, just using all of that really eye-catching, out of the ordinary kind of elements of the creative, and then finishing on a strong pack shot. And that's what we mean by embracing the formats and the limitations of them. The old rules don't apply, the rules from other channels don't really fit, so we have to kind of work with the new rules that exist in digital. And these are our top 6.5 rules to doing that. So starting on the start, number 1, grab attention. So how do we really start to grab the user in the feed and get them to stop scrolling? So one of the key things here that we need to be aware of is that consumers are changing how they use social and the role that social plays in their lives. So what we're starting to see is a shift of consumers actually using social media for socializing. People are creating less original content, so that's fewer posts with their own photographs, their own words, their own videos in it, and also decline in just general sharing in the round in total. And if we just move on, we'll start to see that from research, we're seeing that more people are starting to now claim things around using social to follow celebrities, find entertaining content, keeping up to date with news and current events. So it's really starting to change into more of an entertainment platform and away from being a social network. So that means, whereas previously, sort of 4 or 5 years ago, we would have had this kind of content as being the thing that we had to beat. So that's the thing that we have to overcome in terms of what we're trying to get cut through against. It's now changed, and we're now trying to compete against the likes of the Lad Bibles, the BuzzFeeds, the Tasties, all of that kind of quick, bright, highly engaging content that's designed to just capture people's attention for a few seconds before they move on. So that's our kind of key challenge at the moment. How do we start to grab attention against the backdrop of this sort of content?
And I've picked out a few examples. I mean, there's a lot out there, but fairly motley crew of things. The first is Oreos. They do some really nice stuff. Again, this obeys so many rules about getting the product up front. It's got that authentic feel. It's really engaging in terms of hand-drawn and crafted, but yet very simple and straightforward. One that we've just done for Simple, which was to take a traditionally narrative storyline, linear narrative storyline of how someone removes their makeup, but actually do it in reverse. So in a festival scene, we filmed this all backwards. Through to this one by Lowe, where they've done a sort of a mirror kaleidoscope flip of what you could or couldn't do.
We are in such a...
And this one, well, no one likes Piers Morgan, but, or do they? We like the way this very bright, glitchy remix style of this one. Why isn't that playing?
Snowflake generation now. Everybody has to whine and wail. Just get on with it.
Hey, Snowflake. You upset your Instagram post only got 5 likes. You offended no one takes your gluten intolerance seriously. Did only your mum share your online petition? Are you offended that 82% of countries torture their own citizens? Are you offended by children drowning? Are you offended that hundreds of gay men can be abducted and killed? Well, sometimes you should be offended, and we're offended too. You still have the power to change things. You are not powerless. We are with you, and we have got this. We have taken governments to court and won. We change laws and we defend your rights. Now is not the time to give up. Use your voice, Snowflake. Now what you're gonna do? Go and cry some more. Or take some f***ing action.
So whilst a serious subject, really using bright colours, punchy fonts, you don't need sound on, it really sort of grabs attention.
Okay, so number 2, putting the brand or the product kind of front and centre of the creative. So everybody here is probably familiar with the 3-second audition. You've only got 3 seconds to kind of get your message to consumers before they'll scroll past you or make that decision to actually stop and watch. And this is true. It's getting increasingly difficult to do that. This is just data from one of our clients showing, regardless of the length of video or the kind of different techniques that we were using in the creative, as soon as 3 seconds hits, people stop watching. So in that environment, how do you make sure that you maximize the reach that you have, and how do you get your product and brand in front of consumers within that first key moment?
So the first example is one you may have seen because Facebook like to put it out there as a best-in-class example. Funnily enough, they also made it in-house. So, but it does do the trick. That is about Bulmers, and it's got orange and apple in, and that's very simple and straightforward. It's all about the product. Another one from us for Magnum. So whilst we didn't actually have the product in there, we had the iconic shape. Through to this one, which is pretty mental, but it starts with a product, then swiftly goes into something totally different. So start with your brand image and then jump out of a plane with it, just because unexpected is good. I quite like that.
Okay, number 3, keep it short. So if you just move on, we've seen, everybody's probably heard stories in the news, particularly this year, that now apparently we all have attention spans shorter than a goldfish, which is not true. It does a disservice to us and a disservice to goldfish. There's a very excellent podcast on this topic by Tim Harford, more or less on Radio 4. I strongly suggest you go and listen to it. But essentially, as people, we have different types of attention spans for different tasks. So we can still give attention to long involved tasks if we need to, but what we do is create contextual moments of attention depending on where we are and what we're doing. And what we seem to have developed is a different type of attention for mobile. So when we're in social networks and when we're looking at things on our screen, we're paying less attention in those environments, or our attention is more easily taken by the next thing. The kind of result of that is we need to be shorter. We need to recognize the fact that people's attention in those social spaces is more likely to be captured by the next shiny thing. But the kind of the consequence of that is about effectiveness, and Twitter have done some research looking at video length on effectiveness and have found that short videos are more effective in delivering personal relevance and memory encoding. And that's because with a shorter video, you get through the narrative, so you get the full story arc and you get the brand mention, and because we as animals prefer to remember stories rather than just kind of facts or figures, that's kind of encoded more strongly in the memory. So really trying to lean into that kind of short storytelling mechanic is really important.
So I've tried to find the simplest ad I could for storytelling. This one from Garmin, I mean, it can't really get any simpler. If you ride a bike, wear our watch. Or from Old Spice, if you've got armpits that rain sweat, we've got a deodorant for you. I mean, there's storytelling. And in fashion brands as well, theirs is basically, we've got bright, colourful clothes, here's model wearing it, that's all you need to see. It's really loud and in your face. And the last example, I'm sure you've all seen, but
don't thank me.
The Geico
thank
one.
the savings.
You can't skip this Geico ad because it's already over. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
But what this effectively does is get your 3 seconds out of the way and then have some fun. Brilliant. Great.
Okay, so number 4, think about context. So think about the context that the user is in when they're experiencing the ad. That's really important, as we've kind of already mentioned. You know, most of the consumption of video advertising is now happening on mobile, so it's really important to be mobile first and recognize those kind of contexts that people are in. They're probably outside, out and about, bright sunshine, so you need bright contrasting colors, no sound on, people don't really have sound set, but really what we're starting to see is actually a fragmentation of context, so the rules that apply for one platform don't apply for the other. So whilst 85% of Facebook videos watched with sound off, 2/3 of Snapchat videos watched with sound on. So there's no kind of hard and fast rules with these sorts of things. You need to kind of understand the context of the user, their behavior, their intent in that platform. What are they doing on that site? What are they trying to achieve? And build that into the advertising, really embrace the fragmentation of platforms.
So the first 2 examples I found here really use subtitles as not as a burden or a secondary thought, but actually make a play on the fact you perhaps haven't got your sound on.
Ads autoplay silently on Facebook, so I'm using subtitles and an interpreter to tell you you could get 10% off your first hotel stay when you download the Hotels.com app. Is the interpreter unnecessary? Yes. She's also awesome.
Through to this one from McCoy's.
Sarah, these subtitles aren't flavoursome enough for new McCoy's chips. They need to be bigger, bolder, Wilder, full-on chip shop flavour. A savoury tsunami smacking you in the eyeballs. So much flavour, it can barely fit on your feeble screen. Make way for big chip shop flavour! McCoy's, when flavour subtitles.
But as Andy said, on Snapchat, sound is watched by, listened to by a lot more people. So actually, sometimes it can add an emotional layer you can't get without, with visuals, especially if you're selling unlimited music feeds with Amazon. Really simple ad, but adding that emotional music bit on there and the fact they're selling the music is quite essential there. And then the last example is a bit more self-aware of its own location and the sort of things people watching around ads.
I'm James Reed, and you're procrastinating on the interweb because you hate your job. Click me.
Very simple.
Okay, number 5, make it authentic. So what we're really starting to see, if we can move on, is that social advertising isn't really trusted by consumers. So Nielsen's ad trust survey that they do every 2 years, this data is from 2015, puts social networks third from bottom, just below banner advertising. And far away from TV ads, who are almost at the top. So in this kind of space, consumers aren't really trusting what they're seeing. One of the ways that we can creatively respond to that is by using different voices, different types of content, UGC, influencers, in the creative to show that it's not just the brand who's telling you this message, but it's coming from a third-party source as well, to try and build the trust in those environments.
So the first example has has no branding actually, and it's from a gift company that I've forgotten what their name is.
They're called Bump.
Bump. You have to say it in quite a northern voice. Bump. So they sell gifts and sort of novelty stuff, and how better to show the effect of one of their new products, but then letting people show themselves UGC style opening their product. So obviously the best way to show what a great reaction you'd get from this gift is to show someone with that great reaction. Through to even more sort of premium brands like Qantas Airlines here, showing travel, but instead of the sort of glossy holiday brochure sort of imagery they'd normally use real people's photography to show like that you could be there. This is what real people, you're watching on Instagram stories, your friends are on holiday, you're using the same language to sort of say, oh, I could have a bit of that too. Even then, the next example from Lad Bible is inauthentic in the Lad Bible's style of content, and it's kind of weird because it's kind of makes the point against the products it's trying to sell. That'll make sense when I play it.
I'm telling you, Autumn will not recognise me in the slightest. Alright, done. Let's go.
Hi Autumn, it's me.
What happened to your beard?
It's gone. Do you like it? Yeah. You don't believe it's me, do you? No. She doesn't believe it's me. Would you feel it? It's smooth. It's Daddy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of an anti-shaving ad, but yet you kind of warm to it because it's real. Another one from us. We're using influencers here for a simple again, and showing how integrating authentic influencer content within brand ads can still pop in social feeds.
Okay, and finally, make it personal. So, you know, as we've seen earlier today, you know, the consumers aren't really there to get advertising. They don't really like it. They're not really kind of in the market to see loads of it. And that's been borne out with lots of studies, including this study from eConsultancy in 2012, which said 55% of UK consumers would be happier to see ads if they were more relevant to their interests. That was quite a few years ago. How have we done against that? Well, another study last year found that 27% of think digital advertising's got worse over the past 3 years, and 55% pretty much think digital advertising isn't effective. So there is a need and a strong desire from consumers to have more relevant advertising, things that actually speak to them and their needs and their interests, and we are not doing a very good job at showing them those sorts of things.
So I've got a couple of examples here. One is quite hard to show, but it's something Axe Links over here, did in Argentina, where they did an incredibly production-led trailer for a remake of Romeo and Juliet, where they made 100,000 variations of it. I'll play one of them, but essentially, programmatically, they targeted different audiences based on their tastes.
Some say life has killed the dream.
So they changed the voiceover, they changed the background music, they even changed the genre of the film from sci-fi to romance to various things. Quite incredible amount of going on behind the scenes about personalisation, which you wouldn't pick up as a reviewer. There's been consideration about what the viewer wants to see and would like.
From the international...
Where is it?
Matthew, run.
So something Channel 4 have been experimenting with recently, personalising VOD. So when you're watching catch up, having your name read out to you in a scary way is pretty cut through.
So we've talked you through kind of 6 principles, 6 different rules, and we just wanted to share a very, very quick top-line case study from our work on Ben & Jerry's recently, which brings some of those different strands together. So a brief for Ben & Jerry's, they're launching a new ice cream range in the UK called Topped, which is normal Ben & Jerry's, but with a kind of gooey, fudgy layer on top. And we were asked to do the creative for that in terms of how can we land the new product variant, but also how can we drive indulgence as well. So how do we maximize all of those indulgent taste cues and all of that kind of food porn world. We approach this with a digital down model. So looking at first all of the digital placements where we need to put that creative and having that as the basis of the creative idea, rather than starting the other way around, coming up with a big concept and a kind of a big kind of hero 30 or 60 AV asset that then gets cut up, looking at how do you start it from the kind of from digital first.
Which is a kind of an awkward creative challenge, because as creatives we're fighting for storytelling of long form and emotional things, and trying to weave craft and when it comes down to it, you're challenged to create like a 3-second piece of content and things like that. So there's a bit of a challenge here, but essentially the idea was that Ben & Jerry's trying to get into premium food space, but it's Ben & Jerry's, they're not going to be very good at that. But that's a narrative that we could only tell in the longer one. So in the short one, we still had to get across the premium food credentials. So it's literally having your ice cream and eating it, if that metaphor still works. So in Instagram cinemagraphs, very, very straightforward. It's got a fudgy topping. So let's just show the fudgy topping. You don't need to see a long story arc about that. Come on. In Facebook, in the short form, when it warms up. Well, anyway, something happens in a minute. You see the top. It's all about the top, the spoon coming out the top. Oh, hello. Not on the left, though. Okay, fine. Through to Snapchat.
Delicious. New Ben & Jerry's Topped.
And through to 6-second bumpers on YouTube.
No, left a bit, right a bit.
Delicious.
So very, very simple. Ben but then all culminating in a 30-second ad.
Tart, our most indulgent concoction yet. Delicious chocolatey chunks. Swirls of salted caramel. Chocolate brownies.
Not again. Cut.
A spoonable chocolatey topping.
It's spinning. Cut. Okay, let's just read it out.
Ben & Jerry's Top vanilla ice cream with a salted caramel swirl, brownies, chocolatey chunks, and a spoonable chocolatey topping. Says it all, really.
So what does everything that we've just talked about kind of mean for the state of digital video advertising? Everything we've talked about in terms of shortening ad lengths, putting the product up front, remove the storytelling and the narrative, just get to the point, make it bright and eye-catching, make that kind of standout happen. And it really leads us to the space where are we ending up in an environment where digital video advertising is only useful for branded memorability? So where you want to drive top-of-mind awareness or salience with an established brand, great, we can do that with these formats and with these creative restrictions. But if you want to do anything else, like drive behavior change, reposition a brand, drive deeper emotional engagement and connection, we're really starting to see, I think, moving towards a place where video advertising in social networks and in other formats is really struggling and hindering our ability to do that. And I think for us, this is kind of a live issue and live question and something that kind of maybe needs to be challenged a bit further.
And just one final point, you're probably wondering about the 0.5. Sometimes things come along that you kind of have to throw away all these rules, especially when you're advertising toilet stalls.
This is where your ice cream comes from. The creamy poop of a mystic unicorn. Totally clean, totally cool, and soft served straight from a sphincter. They're good at pooping. But you know who sucks at pooping? You do. That's because when you sit on a porcelain throne, this muscle puts a kink in the hose and stops the Ben & Jerry's from sliding out smoothly. Is that a problem? I don't know, are hemorrhoids a problem? Because sitting at this angle can cause hemorrhoids, bloating, constipation, and a buttload of other crap. And seriously, unicorn hemorrhoids? The glitter gets everywhere. But what happens when you go from a sit to a squat? Voila, this muscle relaxes and that kink goes away faster than Pegasus laying sweet sherbet dookie. Now your colon's open and ready for battle. That's because our bodies were made to poop in a squat, and now there's a product that lets you squat in your own home. Introducing the Squatty Potty. No, Squatty Potty is not a joke. And yes, it will give you the best poop of your life, guaranteed. I don't just mean you bloated lords and hemorrhoidal ladies. I mean everyone. Kink, unkink. Kink, unkink. It's simple science, really. Can't get the last scoop out of the carton. With the Squatty Potty, you get complete elimination. Spend too much time on the chamber pot? The Squatty Potty makes you go twice as fast or your money back. I stream, you stream, and plop, plop, baby. Maybe you're sore from squeezing out solid globs of rocky road. The Squatty Potty gives you a smooth stream of froyo that glides like a virgin swan. Plus, when you're done, it tucks neatly out of sight, thanks to its innovative, patented design. Truly a footstool fit for a constipated king. So, if you're a human being who poops from your butt, click here to order your Squatty Potty today at squattypotty.com. You'll wish you tried it years ago. And if you don't trust the prince, how about your doctor? Shark Tank, HuffPost, NPR, Men's Health, Howard Stern? He poops from his butt. They're all crazy about the Squatty Potty. Not to mention the 2,000 Amazon users who gave the Squatty Potty 5 stars, including the author of this moving haiku.
Oh, Squatty Potty, you fill me with endless joy, yet leave me empty.
So order your Squatty Potty today. I'm not saying it will make your poop as soft as this cookies and cream, but I'm not saying it won't. Squatty Potty, the stool for better stool. Pooping will never be the same. And neither will ice cream. One for you. How does it taste? Is that delicious? Is that the best thing you've ever had in your life? There you are.
Yeah, amazing. Breaks every rule, yet obeys every rule. So thank you.